this.
Okay.
Oh, hello, my beautiful, beautiful, delicious, powerful listeners. I mean that every single time I say it. Oh, because I can feel your frequency out there. Today, I'm with Terri, Lynn, Grady. You guys are in for such a treat. Terri and I met through the first guest on this podcast, the incredible Leslie Fuller. And Terri and Leslie go back a number of years. And so Leslie and I met at the top of 2023, got in, did the podcast. She was in her daughter's closet. I was in the back of the car. It was magic. It was such a great start to the show. Real life here. And then she introduced me to Terri, and Terri was like, yeah, this is great, with your business organizing and whatever, Mia, but I'm leaving the country to go traveling. I'll catch up with you later. And I was like, okay, could you? Because that sounds awesome. And what Terri has done at the beautiful young age of 60, and you've heard me say this before, I like to mention the age, you guys, because it's always your time. There's no limit. There's no bottom of the hourglass except for your last day on earth, where, like, I feel it in my heart so hard, where you can't do what you've come here to do. It's always time. Okay. So I just like to recognize that, not in an ageist way, but just in that safety and abundant way versus a scarcity and panicky way. And so Terri has gone through so many things as a continued experience in life will cause, and is now really in a thriving, beautiful, even more expanding place in her life. And so she's calling in from the UK today, as she has been traveling all year, house sitting through different places, and really giving space and time for her soul to blow free. And in that has created something that she resisted that is now coming to life nearly a year to the date later. Something that she really resisted that happened very organically. And it's a book. Okay. It's no great. It's a book. We see this, right? The resistance to it, and then the continued response from the world that it's not about you. You need to do this for others, which Terri was just telling me about while we were hanging out in the preamble, while you guys were all waiting with bated breath for us to show up. So welcome to the show, Terri.
Thank you, Mia, for having me. And thank you to your people, your women. I have a real affinity. I already, because you are who you are, and how we've connected. It's just a symbiotic. It had to happen.
It had to happen.
It had to happen.
It had to happen. Absolutely. And we're going to take it all the way. So, I mean, where do you want to start? We've been having such a good time hanging out. We can, what does Terri do, you guys?
What does Terri do? Right. Right. Well, she's traveling the world. What does she do? So yeah, we'll start with that.
Let's start there. Yes.
I am a health and fitness habit change coach for women over 50. And I've had clients all ages, but my focus is over 50, because so many of the women have not ever lifted weights. They're afraid of weights. They got the notion in the head that if I pick up a weight, I'm going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And, that's just because that's the era we grew up in, and we did cardio. And so
spandex.
It's spandex, right? And it is not something in my previous life, I taught special ed for 20 years. I did not walk into this. So as we getting ready to come on, I was explaining, from my first horrible, terrible marriage, I didn't get much child support. And so I started doing secret shopping jobs. And one of them was to go to a gym and find out if they were talking smack about another gym. And I would get paid a whopping $25 for that. I thought, it's an hour, I'll do it. Well, it ended up being 4 hours, because this kid would not take no for an answer, right? Now, most of my adult life, I had been around 200 pounds. And at this time I had dropped down to 155, and I was wearing a size 10, and I was very happy with it. I started running in college, but then, kids and all of that gained it back. And so we go back to the office, and he sits down at the desk,
He's
and I'm
trying
sitting.
to sign you up for a membership. Is that where
Right.
he's taking note?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And he said, well, something brought you in here. What brought you in here? And I'm like, I can't tell you. It's secret shopping. What brought you in here? And I said, oh, I guess, thinking of a way to lose the last 10 pounds. How many of us did, right? The last 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So he said, well, how long have you been trying to lose these last 10 pounds? I said, oh, about 10 years. So he puts his hands on the desk. He leans over to me and he says, how stubborn of a woman are you? Well, I'm an Aries, so pretty stubborn.
What an angel from above come down to you guys. I'm crying. I just gotta jump in here for a second, stretch it out a little bit.
No,
because
go ahead.
what's happening here, Terry's out there living her life, and there's pieces falling into place and skills that are being sharpened, but they haven't quite found their landing spot yet. Right. And so here she is, just trying to make ends meet, doing this hilarious, oh my God, like that could be a book in of itself, The Secret Life of Secret Shopping.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? Like, woo! And this young-ish man, presumably,
he is,
grabs you by your Aries horns. And I mean, I've known you for a year digitally, and I know how strong of a spirit you are. Like, I can feel it. That's why I friggin' love you so hard. Comes in and calls you out on something like this. And in the meantime, what's happening is the universe is like, dude, it's time.
Yeah. It's
time. So finish the story, because it sounds like you answered.
Oh, I did. I and wait till you hear this. So I'm like, fine, I'll show you. I literally said, fine, I'll show you. I can't lose these last 10 pounds. Those were the words.
So stubborn that you bought a gym membership to prove this kid wrong.
Right. Not only did I buy a gym membership, I bought a coach. So my $25 pay turned into a $700 expense. And so you have to, right? Here I am trying to make ends meet, and I go do this $700 for a trainer. And David, David was the most amazing trainer. Again, you're talking about things falling into place. I was put with him. Yeah. Because he loved the why I call them wiser clients, because they're in it to win it. They're not, they're going to do it. They are going to do this. And at the time I had started dating what ended up being my second husband, and he'd always lifted. So in 4 months, when we got into our first meeting, right, I was 155 pounds, 32% body fat, because all I had ever done was run. So I was running away my muscle, and I wasn't picking up anything. 32%, which is considered obese. That's the line for obese. Okay. And I was crushed. And so I went all in, man. I went all in. And in 4 months, which was my time with David, I lost 10 pounds. I lost the 10 pounds, but more importantly, I'd gone from 32% body fat to 22% body fat, which is huge. And so within that next year, people, total strangers, would come up to me and say, hey, do you compete? I'm like, what? I don't even know exactly. What are you talking about? And they said, bodybuilding. And I would laugh in their face, because, the mind takes forever. And so after a year hearing this, I thought, I'll find out about it. And I mentioned it to a friend. Well, I didn't know this friend happened to be security for the guy who puts on shows in Kansas City. 24 hours later, I'm picking up my phone. Fred Roulette's calling me, and he says, hey, I hear you want to do a show. And I take the phone. I'm like, what?
From who?
Yeah. So Fred says, hey, come on in, let's talk.
Wow.
And then and there, I did 2 years of bodybuilding, natural bodybuilding. And I got my pro card. I did 1 pro show. I walked off the stage and I said, that's it. I quit. Time for me to teach other women how to love their bodies and love themselves. And I started studying for personal training, got my personal training, got to the gym, quit teaching in 2011, opened up a gym. And so here I am. 2 years ago, I went online. And so I train my clients online. There's an app for that. I have an app, my own app.
Oh, sweet. Well done. That's fun.
And so I got divorced from the second husband last year because he turned out to be not so much fun. And I said, I got to get out of here. And a dual friend of Leslie and me, Denise, sent me an article, and there was a woman who sold all of her stuff in Canada and became a nomad. And one of the ways she did that was on Trusted House Sitters and nomadier.com, where you stay in people's homes and you take care of their pets while they holiday. And so
that's what you're doing.
That's what I'm doing. And I'm seeing my clients and
wherever
building
you
my
are,
business. Yeah.
Internet connection.
Yeah.
And away you go. So what was it like? Oh, there's so much.
No, so much.
So much. Okay. Let me just throw some stuff down.
Go ahead.
Fitness and mindset, and how the mind, body, and then spirit connection come together. Because throughout the rest of this conversation, we're going to see how much, I'm going to say, like, faster you have grown as the light being that you are, right? As the pure essence of life that came to be when you formed in your mother's womb. Like that, a lot of this language coming out of me right now to remind us of the purity of where we come from and how we collect all this stickiness, and then we spend our lives kind of pulling it away.
Yeah.
Clarifying again.
Right.
So
yeah.
we'll let that, it's a big concept. So that, and how in going into working out, which is really like, we might know it as somatics, as body work, as whatever, but when you are bringing together I'm looking for the word for it, it's when the 3 circles overlap. It's that Japanese word.
That Venn diagram type of thing. And that center. Yeah.
And that center. So when you bring mind, body, and spirit together, how you tap into a supernatural power to let yourself be more expressed in its wholeness in the world, right? And how fitness pushed, because certainly if that dear sweet angel hadn't met you on that day, would you have left that husband? Would you have, been to where you are now? How all these things connect. So in fitness and in bodybuilding, audience, don't be intimidated. Be empowered to recognize the importance of the harmony in our 3 parts, in our trinity. And then in, growing a business, the shifts that you made and how you supported yourself, not financially, but as a CEO, in taking a brick and mortar business, because I don't know if we touched this yet, but you ran a gym for 5 years.
Right.
Wrapping up a brick and mortar, which sometimes can be like a child, can be very, very emotionally attached, and then going online to end up in this place and now living like, look at her, you guys, look at Terri. This is what drew me into her from the second she crossed my radar on the internet. We're not even in person. We're across a country, a planet, right?
Yeah.
She's just got it going on because of this expression. And now you're doing things you would have never thought you would have done, like the book. So this is sort of like the different areas. And the probably a place to go here is some shifts that you've noticed in yourself from the mind, body, spirit, soul connection, and in other women that have come that you have helped in their healing journey. That's the case studies and the examples of why it's important and why your passion has to do with this unifying of, I like the word Trinity. I'm pretty stuck on it right now.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah. And I apologize to your people because my light in here, and now it started raining.
Oh, good. It's raining here too.
Yeah, yeah. It just started. It was supposed to, and I couldn't find
Here.
the light in the. Can't
Shall we
find the
go?
light in the house. So in this
We'll
particular
go darker here too.
So, but okay. So one of the things that when people say, you narrow down your niche, you want to get an inch wide, a mile deep, because there are millions of trainers and coaches, but you got to find the one for you. And so over the course of the 10, 12 years I was coaching, 99% were women. And I'll have to put pen to paper. But for the longest time, I jokingly said, I need you to sign this piece of paper that says you won't hold me liable if your relationship, your partnership, your marriage, whatever, breaks up.
Mhm. What?
Because right, I've seen it. And I can just as I knew that one moment when Leslie said, tell me about that, I
Mhm.
can tell within days of working with somebody whether their relationship is going to continue or not. One of the first things I ask my ladies is, tell me about your relationships. And, tell me about your support system, because you're
Mhm.
going to need a support system. And I listen intently to that.
Mhm.
I've had a lot of women leave their relationships because they've raised their vibrational levels.
Yeah.
They've raised their own, but when people asked me about bodybuilding and I'd laugh because my mind was still stuck in this place of where this woman was and what got her to that point. And so when I work and I train with women, I not only see their bodies change, but their mind changes. I've had women leave jobs
Mhm.
because what I say is, once you see something, you can't unsee it. Or if you do, you shrivel up and nobody wants to live there. So I get to see women's lives change dramatically. I live for the texts where one woman said, my husband and I were going out. I didn't feel like going out because I was feeling frumpy and I was feeling fat. And I went into my closet and I just grabbed a shirt and I wasn't real happy about it because the last time I wore it, it just didn't fit right. And I'm going to turn here for Lucy. Lucy's right there. She's my steady. And she texted me and she said, but you know what, Terri, I put it on and I buttoned up and there wasn't a gape, there wasn't this gaping hole, and I knew exactly what she meant. And to a person who doesn't know what that is, you don't know how freeing that accomplishment is, to feel good in the blouse that you put on because the last time you wore it, you felt horrible and you had to pin it together.
Yeah.
That's what I get.
Very tangible result of effort.
Yes.
And what's important is, if you're an online entrepreneur, we hear mindset, all about the mindset, but the mind is just the engine. The body is the container. And whatever the mind's spinning, it's pushing it through the body. And in self-development, which I compare to fitness all the time because of exactly where we're going here. You don't necessarily, you can get the results outside how your world's changing, but you tend to kind of look the same, be the same. And people who have been around you can have a bit of a harder time letting go of who you were, even though you have let go and have moved on. And when we connect that to the body, I would say it's not so much about the body image, but about the deep appreciation of the result.
Yeah.
Of the result of the effort and of the deepening appreciation of who you are. And then all the benefits that come with that. So like mindset work, let's see, would be, more clients, more money, more joy, like this. when you combine that with the body too, more fitness, more clothing options, more like vitality in order
Yes.
to drive these other pieces.
Yeah. I call a big one that I love to see women get is what I call food freedom. Because,
Mhm,
you
mhm,
know, what I say is, you know, in my previous life, um,
right,
the minute I would wake up is what's for dinner? What do I have to fix for lunch? Food is always on the mind. And then there's the I did fine until I ate whatever. I mean, if you were to add up the number of minutes
right.
that we have spent thinking about food,
Mhm,
and then when you have food freedom
mhm.
and know what that really is, it's amazing how much time you get back in your life.
Yeah. And the energy that you've expunged to
Yes.
not even worry about that because it's
Right.
a leak in the system.
Yes. Yes, that's a good one.
It's a bit,
Another thing I read the other day, which I really like, is um the woman that brought you to this point was
mhm.
strong and courageous and caring, and she did what she had to do to get you to this point. But you know what? You're now here. You've now crossed the line. And it's okay to say goodbye to her. She brought you here so that you could continue to become what it is you are to become. So honor her and cherish her, give her a hug and tell her goodbye.
Because you're letting more of yourself out as you
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
right? And you
Yeah.
have to make space for that. And
Yes.
it can be, there's like almost a grieving to it,
Oh,
right?
without a doubt, there's a grieving because you think, you know, uh, I don't know, I don't know who I'm becoming. I've
Mhm.
never walked this path. I don't know how to do it because I've never been here before.
That is, I just want to sit in that. I'm covered in goosebumps. I don't know who I'm becoming because walking into the unknown is so beautiful and a little scary,
Yeah.
but this is where you layer in these other things to support you, right?
Right. Right.
Where these real transformations in these women come from and how that woman felt when that blouse fit differently. She had indisputable evidence of change,
Yeah.
indisputable, and not just a physical change because she recognized the meaning, the symbolism of what that shirt now means to what it did,
Yes.
right? Like when
Yeah.
you see if I can take us a little deeper, like when you leave a relationship, um romantic or otherwise, and all of a sudden you look and you're like, how did I live in that with that
Yeah.
for that time? It seems
Yes.
so, different to time. Like I was a young party girl and I was lost trying to find my way for a lot of years. And now I look back and I'm like, I can't imagine, like the lessons that I learned from that. But now looking back, it's like I will never, I know beyond a doubt, beyond a worry, beyond an anything, I will never, never be. It's so over. It is like an amputation. It is
It,
very final.
yeah. And we're not taught that, you know, like
No.
we talk about that with, you know, partnerships, relationships, marriages, but friendships, you know,
Mhm,
we think that
mhm,
just
mhm,
because, and I mean, I've had to do that recently. I mean, part of the reason I'm here and to go through this healing is there were there were people that I was just blown away that
mhm.
I'm like, I've grown up with you and you actually literally think this way. I can't be a part of that. And yeah, it's like I say it's like an addict. You have to walk away from them.
Hmm.
Um, because you can't be around it. Now, I'm not calling my, you know, my previous friends. I'm
Oh,
talking
no,
the,
no.
you know, where they are in life and their belief system is so against everything we ever that I and it it horrified me and I became very numb. because I just I couldn't live with that knowledge anymore. And I just had to cut myself off.
Because once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. And with
Exactly.
that comes that fork in the road,
Yes.
either going this way or that way. As you mentioned, we either keep going the way we were, even though we now know this, or we step into that unknown, willing and open, curious to see where it's going to take us.
Yeah.
And that
Even
takes
through the fear,
even
because
through the fear. Yeah.
the fear, I'd rather have the fear than living with I mean, to think of me still with my first husband,
Right.
it literally makes me sick. I mean, I got to I I got to the point where I said, if I'm not out, I'm dead. And
Right.
I would be. I would have been.
Right. The pain of the status quo
Yeah.
versus the pain
Yes.
of the change.
Yes. That's exactly it. Yeah.
And
And people are
welcoming that.
so afraid
Afraid.
they'll stay with the status quo, and it kills them.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is, again, when we find different tools, like you were saying, different trainers for different things. And even
Yes.
as you grow, the people around you can evolve and change, including coaches that, were appropriate for certain stages, like the kid example, diapers until you're potty trained,
Yeah.
like walkers until you're walking, until you're
Right.
old and doing it all
Right.
over again.
Right. Right.
Right?
That's my job, to keep us from that.
Different size clothes based on your age, right? I'm
Right.
not fitting into 5-year-old clothes anymore.
Right.
And it's so interesting to me as I become more aware and as I expand, the insights that really start to click open in seeing things in new ways, and how
Mm.
so much of what we're talking about is very familiar. It's just another layer of it.
Yes. Yes.
Right? It's not like we're there was this great TV show with that cute guy from My Secret Identity way back. I'll have to post it in the notes, but
Okay.
yeah, well, we're a little bit different in age, but it was just such a cute young hunk on TV when I was like a tween or whatever. Anyway, so from My Secret Identity, this kid went into a show called Sliders, which was about parallel universes.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. Right.
And so like each universe would be like wild and crazy and, science fiction or adventure or whatever. And it's fun to watch because it plays with alternative reality.
Yes.
Okay, but we have power to play in alternative reality here on Earth, to play with the supernatural. And the alternative reality is, more joy, more love,
Yeah.
more self-expression of ourselves. So while it is unknown, it's also so incredibly known if you can create space. So here's a good segue then for you to take us in to you leaving America and starting this nomadic life, and, to share the bits that are suitable and book promo
Yeah.
for how this journey has created, a deeper level of your reality.
Well, first, I'm going to go back to when I was 18. I actually came to Europe with a group called People to People, and I stayed with families in Austria, Germany, and Greece, and we went through Italy, and I fell in love with Europe. So there is that background.
Yeah.
It's not my first international. I have been to Mexico 15 years. My mother and I did a Madrid trip in 2019, and it was absolutely the most fascinating, fun. I mean, we still talk about it to this day. It was, and just the prep for it, we go on Pinterest and we go, oh, this is in Madrid. I mean, kids at Christmas.
Stimulating, right? It's
Right.
And it lights up parts of you that
you
live inside somewhere that don't get a chance to come out very often.
Exactly. So I was ending the second marriage. And God, it just, yeah, it was, people say you don't know what people are going to do until they're put into a situation. Right. So very hurtful things, very hurtful. And there was just so much going. I was leaving friends. I was getting out of this, I just wanted to be alone, to heal. And so Denise sent me this article, and you can go on these sites and you can look at everything for free. But if you want to talk to a family, you have to sign up. So I signed up for one, and within 4 days I had 2 interviews, one for a farm to table in Texas, and one for the sitting in Norway. This is 6 days I've been on this site, and I reached out to 2 people. I had Zoom interviews. It was the beginning of May. We had to be out of the house end of June, beginning of May, because I'm like, I don't know where I'm going. I'm not signing, Yeah, May. I had 2 months. And no, May, June, July. Yeah. And I interviewed. Texas offered me the position. That was August, and that was 3 weeks there in Texas in August. Don't do it.
Did you do it?
It's 107 degrees.
Yeah.
I had chickens and ducks and guinea hens and rabbits and dogs and cats and fruit trees and
poop and heat and bugs.
And it was,
and everything's bigger in Texas.
It was, I'm telling you. But I had a great time. It was Austin. It was Lake Travis. And so that was on a Friday. I had that interview, and she'd offered me the position. On Sunday, Mother's Day, was my interview with a couple in Norway. And it was 3 months because he's Australian, she's Norwegian. They were going back to Australia. And so at the end of the 45-minute Zoom, they offered me the position. Not even on the site for a week. So I'm a believer in, when things happen, they happen for a reason. And when they happen, my family's healthy. I went, okay. So they gave me 3 days because I didn't, and they said, this is big. We know. Can you give us your decision by Wednesday? And I said, yes, I will. So I started talking to my friends, and I would start the conversation with, well, I had my interview for the family in Norway, and they offered it to me, and they said, you're going to have a blast. I said, I haven't said yes. And he said, yeah, you will. I talked to at least 15 people. Not one of them shook my shoulders and said, are you crazy? Norway in wintertime.
Right.
And they said, you're going to be wonderful. You're going to have a blast. And so I took that, and I wrote them. I said, yeah, I'll do it. And I got there, and then I signed up with the other one to start, because I had Norway. When I left, I had Norway, December, January, February, and I had Romania in June, July, and part of August. So I had to fill the in between. And so I did. I joined the other site, and I started filling in the in between, got all these sits in England, went to Romania. That's a whole nother story, and came back. But in January, I had a dear friend that I taught with. She said, how did you get to Norway? I mean, you're a trainer, you're a coach, how did this happen? And unbeknownst to me, I started telling my story, and went back to when I was 18. But what happened, to lead credence to why I was in this horrible marriage, when I was 12, my grandfather sexually molested me. And so one of the things your subconscious does, right, is it fights for you. And so he'd made a statement to me, and it was about boys. And I was 12. I was a tomboy. The last thing I wanted to do was be attractive to boys. So my subconscious started me eating, and I started eating, and I ate and I ate. And when I graduated high school, I was about 180 pounds. And I just had this view of who I was to men. And
hiding your body, hiding yourself, hiding your light in your body to avoid further being taken advantage of and abuse.
Covering.
Covering. Yeah.
And so I did that. When I went to college, I started running. My mother was jogging, and I lost the weight in college. I lived with two wonderful women that helped me. One was studying to be a nutritionist, and she helped. But then when I got out of college, I met my first husband, who happened to be just a horrible narcissist. And I put the weight on, and I had kids, and it just got horrible. And I got out of that, and then went into the gym, yada yada. And
Yeah.
so I started dictating the story. Where else but on Facebook?
Yeah.
And thousands of
Whole
people.
world watching.
Right, yeah, right. So I never knew what I was going to say. I would wake up every day in Norway for about 2 weeks, and I would sit with a phone. The sun was coming out. There was beautiful sunrises. The colors were gorgeous. I was at the fjord of Oslo, so there was water, and I would dictate a chapter of this not book that I'm not going to write.
Yeah.
And every day people would say, "You're going to write a book." No, I'm not writing a book.
Yeah.
And then a friend copied all the words and sent them to me, and she said, "You're writing a book." And so because of the responses that I got in private message,
Yeah.
after every single day, of what they were saying, what my story was to them, and they would tell me their story. And I remember from 8th grade on, people would tell me their stories, and they'd tell me these stories, and they'd say, "I've never told that to anybody." And I have heard that my whole life. My whole life, people would tell me things that they've never told anybody because they were ashamed of it. And so I figured that, well, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. So I'm wrapping that up and getting that together to get published in January.
The most incredible out of everything, I mean, you, first of all, have experienced the suffering and come through this incredibly purified, fully expressed self. This is opportunity that's available to everybody if we're willing to take that fork in the road and go
Right.
into that unknown.
Right.
Not knowing, not trusting, but knowing that staying the same just is absolutely not an option.
Not an option.
And even though, it's not like it's always going to be rosy and wonderful on the way to
Right.
here, but
Right.
this is the iceberg under the surface that
Yeah.
we don't think about when we see like Terri's outside world now, that we forget and that we're holding. And what's really, really significant in this is the impact that Terri is required and responsible for making in other people's lives. And why God, spirit, whoever you believe chose you is because you had that exact perfect composition as that little zygote in the womb. Your mom sounds pretty badass too, by the way.
She is. She's awesome. She does Reiki, and she's awesome.
But you formed in order to help serve others with what your life experience has been. And this is the nextest, the utmostest levels of the realities that we can create if we get out of our own way, because it's not about you. You
Right.
resisted this book up until, whenever said friend sent it to you, you're still kind of resisting it, right?
Yeah.
But now you're already, I can see it, the emotions pour, you're already leaning into that it's not about you. You're the passageway, the gateway for it to come through, because now you know how many people it's going to serve, that it's already served. And it's such an incredible testament to living in true purpose versus like ego and self. And we can confuse the two, but what you did is you got quiet and you just let it go. And like Frozen 2 is just running so hard. Like Norway up
Yeah, right.
like stop it, the river. Like, you're Elsa.
Yes.
by the way.
Right.
But creating, opening that space to let it out means that you really detached from yourself.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
This is detached from yourself to become yourself, right? So a tagline
Right.
I like to use is overcome yourself to become yourself. Detach from yourself to become yourself. You gave that space, and now do you guys see what's happening? And do you see how Terri is going to absolutely reap rewards from this, as she should? This is the receivership piece,
I'm
right?
just trying to get more light. I'm gonna be
Get more
rude.
light, move.
Stand up for a second.
Do it.
There. Okay.
When you can own your pain and your
Right.
journey as a critical piece of the puzzle, as a critical link in the chain for the greater good, you absolutely can be rewarded for that financially, whatever, in whatever ways.
Everybody has this. Like I said, I could not
Totally.
believe, I could not believe the messages that I would get daily.
You can't stop now.
Yeah.
The dam is broken and you
Yeah.
can't stop. It's not up to you anymore. And there's a beauty in that removes this pressure and this focus, because now it's about the work and it's about the things that need to be said, because people are desperate on the brink of their fork in the road, waiting for you, Terri, waiting for you, Angela, Pat, Leslie, Jane, everybody, Mia,
Right.
to show up and to give that, because we're not here to do anything by ourselves. We're here to do it as a collective, as a whole, as an entire like life source that is codependent in a healthy way.
I say that we are, if we all were to, this is a little too spacely sprockets. So, the cogs in a wheel.
Yes.
And what happens is, hi, this is Lucy. What happens is the ones that have broken cogs get us caught up, and then we get stuck in that, and we can't turn. And exactly what you just said. So finding those cogs in our lives that help us turn, and then we create this symbiotic energy, because no man is an island. And just because somebody else is doing something or they're successful or does not take away from yours. Okay. It should raise you to reach yours. We're not competing. This isn't a competition. Right. We're all going to end up in the same place.
That's right. In the ground, people. She's talking about death.
yeah, right. So why not support each other? Reach back to the ones that are, if I could save a woman from
one single woman
from ever being in a relationship with a man, if I could save one, God.
You've done it.
Yeah.
Just like that personal trainer brought you to your fate that day in the gym. In that he saved his one.
He saved his one.
He saved his one.
At 12, I knew that I wanted to teach special needs kids. I never wavered from that.
Yeah.
But when you talk about those things lining up, I started working out in the gym January 2007. Mm-hmm. I had been at this district for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And I had, I was special ed director. I was doing the teaching. I was doing this. I was meeting this. I was asking for help. And in March of that year, they called me in. There was a high school principal, and this was a K-12 school, very small district, K-12 school. Called me in, and the superintendent and I were friends. We played jokes on each other. I'd play a joke on him. I'd come in, my chairs would be up on and he tells me on this Friday afternoon, we're going to put so-and-so in your place and put you back down in the teaching full time, which would cut my pay, which I couldn't afford. Right. And when you have 16 years of experience, schools in Missouri only have to give you your 5 years of experience. I mean, no, but that was a gut punch. I
Right.
gut punched. And one of the directors in the other district, I was talking to them at one of our meetings, and anyway, they were going to build a platform or a new program, and she thought I'd be perfect for it. And I did end up moving to the other school district. They gave me all my years. You know, I did not lose any money.
But was
But
pretty awful in the middle.
right.
Right.
So there was that 2007. We're putting you back in. Things are lining up. It was horrible. I go to this other school district that I didn't, want to go. It was, and in I was getting into my 5th year, and something happened with a set of parents that was absolutely illegal. And I ended up I wrote an I quit letter, and I deleted it all, and I put I quit, and that was it. And they all lined up for me to go do this.
Yes.
And I can see that
It's a
now.
long game. It's a long game. We don't know what's happening when we're in it. Right.
Horrid.
It is yeah.
And so I've told women, I've said, every no you get is a yes in a right direction. It may not be a yes right away, but your no's. Be thankful for the no's.
Because they're steering you away from and towards something else. But it's hard to see when you're in it, which is
when
why
you're
we
in the
have
thick
to,
of it.
we have to connect to the whole timeline, to the whole piece of what life is. And you get so stuck with the blinders of just immediately what's right in front of you.
Bingo.
And it's like you're present. Yes, you're present in what's happening in front of you, but you're not forgetful of what is available. Because, when we look back at what we've overcome, that is the evidence. And that is the indicator. Hindsight's 2020 for a reason.
Yeah.
And so being present means, paying consideration to that future hindsight and bringing it to you now to trust.
Because I had only lifted for 4 months, and there was nothing about, again. And so the woman that asked me, what got you there? What got you? She was one of the teachers that I worked with down in that district.
Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing.
It is. I mean, you look back, and both those, without those, I wouldn't be here. Without that pain, I wouldn't be here.
Serving, sharing, empowering, transforming others as a result of your life experience, because you're letting yourself be the messenger.
Yeah.
Letting it flow through you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, that is such a huge takeaway of, again, remember detaching from yourself a little bit, so that you're not, it's not up to you. We're not Atlas holding up the world, right? We're all cogs in that wheel.
Yes. Yeah.
That connectedness is the most freeing thing. And we have to get quiet with ourselves to create that space to let it come through.
Absolutely.
Okay. There's one last burning question.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about what it was like to purge your 40-ish years of belongings and go gallivanting around. Like, how does it feel, one, to go through that? Because I love purging, and decluttering creates space, and it's so freeing in more levels than I can even find human words for. So that part of it. And now also, like, do you still have a home?
Right.
Like, what's that like? Right.
No,
Talk about leaning into the unknown.
No. Yeah. So I kind of came around. I had a house, and I got rid of the house in I totally lost it. So moved from a house to an apartment. And so that helped. I mean, I was married to my second husband, and then we moved from an apartment to a house, and actually rented out 2 rooms as a Airbnb. And then COVID hit, and we didn't. I mean, there was not need for a lot of furniture.
Right.
So my father passed 10 years ago, and I took his sofa and love seat, and then I bought this wonderful leather chair that it's oversized that I could,
live in.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah, right.
So, and then when we moved from the apartment, well, so when we started, before we moved from the apartment, we actually didn't sleep together. So I had my own room, he had his own room, you know, we'd become roommates.
Yeah.
So as this was happening through COVID, I started purging stuff that I'm like, I don't need this. I don't need this memory. I don't need this. And I started purging then.
Mhm.
And then when this came up, Facebook Marketplace
Yeah.
sold a ton of that.
Yeah.
The pieces of furniture that I kept the big leather chair, and my friend Denise has it at her house.
Great. Yeah.
I have these leopard chairs with a footstool that I absolutely loved. I got from Pier 1, and they're over at my mom's. Didn't have need for a bed. I do not have a home.
Mhm.
When I kept some kitchen things. So what I tell people is what I miss most, other than family, right, and friends, is my plates, my plants, and my shells. And by plates, I mean my 25, 35, 45-pound plates.
Weights.
My plates, my plants, my 30-something odd plants that my daughter has,
Wow.
and my seashells. And
Okay.
so my clothes, the couple of items that I kept,
Mhm.
they're at my mom's.
Mhm.
When we moved out June 30th, I began, what happened, so this is another thing real quick. When I took the job in Texas in
Mhm.
August, and I
Mhm.
took the Norwegian job, so this is May.
Mhm.
The minute I took those jobs, my phone started blowing up with, hey, can you dog sit so-and-so in this week? Can you dog sit? Can you dog sit? Can you dog sit? And I'm like, yeah. So
Mhm.
between June 30th and November 12th, when I left, there were 43 days that I was not dog sitting or
Wow.
house sitting. And
Wow.
when I'm not, I stay with my mom.
Perfect.
And my aunt and uncle were going downhill, so I got to help her through that. We'd get up and walk, we'd have coffee, you know, we'd work out, you know. So
Yeah.
I got 43 days with my mom,
Yeah.
who's absolutely incredible. And so when I land back in the States at the end of this month, I go directly to a dog sit.
Yeah.
And so that's what I do. People said, so the word nomad is a fancy word for homeless. And I'm like, yeah, homeless with a purpose.
Well, the world is your home, right?
The world is
We've
my home.
always been nomadic. And
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When I came at 18, I said, I'll be back. I have got to explore.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you have removed a lot of logistics that can cause resistance or excuses to not doing it. And you guys, she is okay. Like, look at her. She is okay. We don't know where the lighting is in this house with this
I know.
but it doesn't mean anything. She's not actually in the dark.
Right. In fact, real quick, I'm going to unplug. I'm going to take you to the conservatory and you can see. So I'm going to do this, which I should have done a long time ago.
Yeah.
Hang on, it might get a little dark, but I'm going to take you to the conservatory where I spend most of my days. And we call it, see, look at that. She's a real person.
Hi.
Yeah.
Why weren't you sitting in here, Terri?
I know. I didn't. When it came up so fast. So yeah, this is the sunroom.
Wow.
Yeah, she's an artist. Get this. She is an artist, and she takes people on trips around the world, and they paint. She is currently in Africa.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is the new reality realm that you are living in now, that you are vibrating in, and that
yes,
you're leading by example in, as evidence, as proof in the pudding of what is possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it is. I believe I'm a huge energy person.
Yes.
And that you pull in, you bring into your life and that's why I say you have to purge the low vibrational energy. You have to. If you want to be happy, if you want to do what you want in life, if you want to become who you're supposed to become, if you want to change and grow as a human being, you have got to purge the low vibrations. It's that simple.
Full stop. That's it. And there's lots of people out here who want to help, like Terri, like myself, like others.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to share her with you all. This was just absolutely phenomenal.
It
Terri,
was. I wish I would have been in here the whole time. Dang it.
wow, well, whatever. Hindsight's 2020.
Right? Yeah.
So funny. It was like right there the whole time, but it's
Yeah.
all good.
I didn't have time. I was like, oh God, I got to get connected. Yeah.
Good. We're super casual, super. You guys get in her space, find somebody that lights you up this way. I am obsessed with Terri. I'm going to hang on to her forever. And I'm so honored to have shared this time and to have had this incredibly robust and large conversation with you. And I know that it's serving so many that have heard or will hear. So don't be a stranger. Like, we are very extremely real people. We poop, we fart, we get food stuck in our teeth. Come on over. Talk to us, baby. Talk to us, because we're in it for everybody together all the time. Gorgeous. All right. Thank you, Terri.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to your people. Yeah, look me up, you know, ask me questions. You know, be real. I'll be real. It's, you know, that's all we have time for.
That's all we have time for, to be real.
Yeah.